Let's get
Yeah, it just wasn't pretty.
Let's get to the Royal Rumble. Cactus Jack comes in first, and this pay-per-view is famous for what we're going to talk about with this, but he's eventually eliminated by Chainsaw Charlie. Number 2, of course, is Chainsaw Charlie, and Chainsaw Charlie wound up being eliminated by Mankind. Are you following me so far? Number 3 is going to be Tom Brandy, and he's going to be eliminated by Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. So hopefully you're keeping up. Mick Foley's in this fucker 3 times.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, you know, the thing that got me, and, you know, Pat and I put this thing together, but what Mick and Terry did at the very beginning, trading the unprotected chair shots.
Oh my God.
Watching that 20 years later just made me cringe and want to crawl under my desk. I mean, it's hard to watch.
It was, it's a fun show because you're ready for Steve Austin the entire time. And the show is really built around Steve Austin to the point that we see him arrive in the Stone Cold Steve Austin truck, which was custom painted with the smoking skull. And they ran a contest, and Mildred Bowers is announced as the winner, from Nashville, Tennessee. And Mildred Bowers, was an older lady then. I don't know if she's still with us or not. She may have passed away now, but, there's a fun video out there on YouTube. If you get a chance, I encourage you to throw it in your Google machine. Winner of Royal Rumble 1998 Stone Cold truck, Mildred Bowers. And you'll see a video of her winning her Silverado that says 100% pure whoop ass on the tailgate. How was Mildred selected for this? This is fucking awesome.
There's a company that does like sweepstakes and contests and all that, so that you keep it all on the up and up, and they randomly select them through whatever process they use. I don't know if it's a computer or if someone, Random House or whoever, just reaches into a big bin and draws it out. But we had a company that did it and handled that whole drawing.
You've got to see Mildred strutting that ass in this.
I've seen it. I've seen the video you're talking about.
It is so great. If you're listening and you haven't seen it, man, throw it in your Google machine. You will not regret it. So of course, Steve Austin is a wanted man. Everybody's out for him. The Godwins and everybody doing these skits all throughout the show. Everybody wants to know, when's he going to be here? And so we're telling a story. Can he overcome all odds? But at the same time, we establish, in my opinion, Mick Foley as a major player because we see him 3 different times as Cactus Jack, as Mankind. And of course he's in here as Dude Love as well. So he's doing all 3 gimmicks, and it comes down to, the final deal here. Go ahead.
And let's go back to that, because that was something that Pat and I pitched to Vince, and he was like, how the hell can he do that? He can't be in the ring at the same time. We're like, no, man. So we called Mick and said, hey, is this something you can do? And Mick loved it. But it was Vince, his first reaction was, how the hell are you going to do that? And then once we explained it to him, loved it. And we got to have our 3 faces of Foley in the match.
I thought it was a good idea to have the 3 faces of Foley. Whose idea was that?
That was something Pat and I came up with, because what happened is we had a talent roster, and on the talent roster, you had Mankind, you had Dude Love, and you had Cactus Jack. So I'm thinking, well, shit, we should have all 3 of them. Wouldn't that be great? And Pat starts laughing. Oh my God, you could have all 3. And we started playing with it, and then pitched the idea, and it actually stuck. So that was a fun little bit of that Rumble.
Number 30 into the ring was Vader. And, I found it kind of funny when he's marching out to the ring, knowing what we know now. Of course, I never caught this back then. Jim Ross refers to Vader as that big old stinky grizzly bear.
Exactly.
Which I thought was hilarious.
The other great JR line from the Royal Rumble is when Jim Cornette and Jeff Jarrett came out and attacked Owen Hart. Say, Jim Cornette is a stain on the underwear of life. Sassafras. I thought that was a great line.
We get down to the final nitty gritty here, and 4 of the final dudes here are Dude Love, which is a sign that, hey, they got a lot of confidence in Mick. He's going to be a player. Farouk, and Farouk is eliminated by The Rock. Obviously that's showing you that, hey, we're going to continue to advance this Nation of Domination dissension storyline. And our last two are The Rock and Stone Cold. Little did we know that later that year, The Rock would be the world champion, and here we would be. Is it always a good rule of thumb that if you're in that final four or final two, that's where sort of where the company sees you as a top guy? Cause this felt like a real, coming out party for The Rock here.
Well, obviously the last guys in the ring, you want to have the audience believe, hey, one of these guys, you don't want them to be able to pick it. So you want them to believe that whoever's in the ring at that time can win this thing. So yeah, you always want top guys in there, but I think we did a good job throughout this whole Rumble of telling stories with the Nation fighting each other and the Farouk Rock story and Steve kind of overcoming the odds. And there was just a lot of fun stories throughout the night in the Rumble.
Steve Austin won the match. He eliminated 7 folks. Meltzer gives it 2.5 stars. Not my favorite Rumble match ever. Where would you rank it?
The top 5.
I love you for that. I was hoping you'd say that. Shawn Michaels
definitely in my top 5 of Rumbles.
Absolutely. I would put it up there in the top 5 with, 99, 2002, 92, 90, 89, 93,
2006.
94, 2006, 2008. Yeah. Those are all my top 5.
Right.
Next up, of course, we've got Shawn Michaels out defending his world title against the Undertaker. It's a casket match. They go 20 minutes and 37 seconds. Meltzer would write, real good work by both, Michaels in particular. Michaels looked to take one incredible bump early, taking a backdrop over the top rope and cracking his lower back on the casket as he went over. He was really lucky he wasn't hurt on that one. Undertaker pressed him overhead and dropped him onto the floor. If you haven't seen this, I recommend that you go out of your way to see it. This is a really, really good match. I enjoyed every time these guys worked, but it's 3.5 stars. Eventually, we're going to get lots of craziness and interference. They do a double casket spot, which, you could be critical of, but at one point China knocks down the ref, and then the Los Boricuas and the New Age Outlaws hit the ring and all began attacking the Undertaker. Kane comes out and everybody's ready for him to defend the Undertaker based on what we saw in Raw, and his music plays. He does clean house. An explosion was supposed to go off to set the stage for turning on Taker, but there was a screw up on the spot, according to Meltzer. And Kane turned on him and punched him and kicked him a few times before choke slamming him into the casket. And then Michaels shut the lid for the easy victory. So what do you think about, and Meltzer would write, after all the punishment both men had received, Kane's offense should have been more brutal, at least delivering a tombstone when it came to finishing Undertaker off. Paul Bearer, who had kept off the road for a few weeks to build drama for his return, prompting a million ridiculous rumors, came out and locked the casket, and then Kane took an axe and started chopping away. They poured gasoline all over it, and then Paul Bearer lit it on fire as the show went off the air. The match itself was really good, but really taken down by the finish. 3.5 stars. A lot to cover. Let's talk about the match itself. I thought it was a great match. I'm not talking about the bump or the finish. What'd you think?
I thought it was an excellent match, and I wrote down why Shawn Michaels is, in my opinion, probably the greatest worker ever. When you watch the little tiny things that Shawn does in the match, how he positions himself in the ring and how he positions himself for his opponent, little things like grabbing to throw someone into the corner, it's logical, and you don't notice it as much with Shawn, and you notice how other guys do it where it may look like a work and it doesn't look natural. It's all natural with Shawn because he puts himself in the right positions. I just was blown away by that. And that speaks to both guys, Taker and Shawn, was off the chart here. And the match itself, excellent on all fronts. A great story. They had some good spots. We talked about how hard it is to have a false finish in a casket. They had a great false finish with Taker in the casket and Shawn standing over him with the DX sign, and Taker, instead of going for a choke, grabbed Shawn by the nuts and threw him back into the ring. But top to bottom, great. I love that Meltzer talks about a screwed up spot with Kane's entrance. Again, this is somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. There was no screwed up spot at all. We didn't do pyro there. We didn't do an explosion there because of what we were setting up for at the end with the fire in the casket at the end. I thought it told great stories on all fronts. It made Shawn, the champion. He got by with the title, holding on as a great heel champion does. And here comes Kane, the turn at the end. Fuck you, big brother. And you're done. Say goodbye.
We want to hear about the magic. Show us how the sausage is made. How did you guys do the fire at the end?
Well, that's where we learned at the very the trick to have that biggest, we did it. We had several caskets there and we tried to do it to see what it would look like. And it just didn't look good. But do you know, if you mix kerosene and gasoline, that you can get that big explosion and you can get the long burning effect like we had on there?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, that's a little secret. Next time you want to burn a casket on national television, that it helps. And the people, the fire marshal is the one who actually gave us that idea. And they were obviously concerned how close we were to the people and things like that. But the whole idea behind chopping the casket up was so that there was air, so the fire could breathe, and pouring the mixture of the gasoline and the kerosene and all that inside the casket just really helped to make that damn thing burn and explode and look beautiful as we got out of it on TV.
So, I've got to ask, I assume that the Undertaker slides under the ring somehow.
It's magic.
Come on, Bruce.
I can't give away the magic. It's magic.
Bruce, you haven't revealed shit on this episode. God damn it. Do it for the fans. Let's do it. Where does Undertaker go?
He mysteriously disappeared because he's the Undertaker. Actually, I'm trying to think of how this one worked. No, I think we just burned him in the casket and got him put out and we put salve on him in the back. No, there's a little trap door on the side. Roll out when it's time. That's why we when you lock the casket.
Well, the axe chopping on top, is that just to make sure that Kane then has a visual that Undertaker actually did get out and they're not going to accidentally set him on fire?
That was a good idea. Yeah, definitely. But also the main reason, yes, if he had not been able to get out and he saw him in there, we definitely would not have set him on fire.
Well, I know that, but I'm asking.
Yeah, the main reason was to give it oxygen.
Okay.
Give the fire oxygen.
Okay. All right. This is not something that you're allowed to do. You can't just go set a fucking giant fire in a building like this. You guys had a very specific square there. Hypothetically, did you have to get with some sort of building commissioner and take him for a walk beforehand?
Well, we had to get with the fire marshal to make sure that he approved it, since we were setting things on fire in an enclosed space in the city of San Jose. Yeah. And this particular fire marshal was extremely cool. And he's the one that kind of helped us with the concoction and is the one who came up with the idea of putting the hole in the casket to give it. And he felt that even made it safer.
If we can make it bigger, it'll be safer.
Well, no, because it contained it, because the walls weren't going to burn out. But you could make that fire inside of the damn thing and make it look bigger.
Right. Well, there's been, I guess the real reason we're here is to talk about Mike Tyson, to talk about this fire, and to talk about the back injury. So let's do that. There's been lots of rumor and innuendo that Shawn really wasn't that hurt here. And it's kind of funny seeing Meltzer write, he's lucky he wasn't hurt there. Here's what Shawn has said about the match. 2 days later, we were shooting vignettes in Davis, California, and I felt a stabbing pain in my lower back. I flew home that Wednesday, and when I woke up Thursday morning, I couldn't move. It felt like there was a hot searing knife tearing through my back. I'd never felt so much pain in my life. I couldn't stand up, so I rolled out of bed. My phone was a few feet away from my bed, but I couldn't get to it. I could reach the cord, so I grabbed it and pulled the phone to me. I dialed up my parents and said, I can't move. I need somebody to come get me to the hospital. They called an ambulance and came right over to the house. With my arms and legs dragging lifelessly behind me, I started crawling towards the front door. It was probably 10 yards from my room to the door, and my folks lived 20 minutes away, and they beat me to the door. The ambulance soon came afterwards, and the EMTs put me on a stretcher and took me to the hospital. Once there, they shot me up with Demerol and took an MRI. And then they told me I had a couple of herniated discs and one was completely crushed. He gave me a bunch of pills and sent me home, and I called Vince and told him what was going on. What are we going to do? He asked. Shawn allegedly says, I can do WrestleMania, but I think it would be best if I could have the February pay-per-view off. This is very serious. And allegedly, Vince said, I want you to come here. I have a doctor I want you to see. Let's get a couple of opinions on it. We'll get you better for WrestleMania. That's the important thing. So Vince wanted him to go see a doctor in New York the guy who treated Dennis Byrd, who was the famous New York Jets lineman who had broken his neck during a game. So he flew to New York and went to see him, and the doctor examined him and said, you're through. You'll never wrestle again. So he's obviously upset by that. And, we're off to the races, I guess. What do you remember about the injury that night? Did Shawn come to the back complaining about the bump? Was he hurting that night? When do you first hear Shawn called from his house in San Antonio and said he can't walk?
Well, working backwards, I remember, the phone call when Shawn couldn't walk and the ambulance was on the way and his girlfriend was involved in there somewhere, and his parents were upset because he couldn't walk and had been rushed to the hospital. We didn't know what the hell was going on. So once we got the word about the discs and everything, Vince wanted him to come up and see this doctor. And pretty much exactly, as you just said, that's pretty much exactly how it went down. And we were concerned that, that this was it. But that night, I think Shawn's adrenaline was so much that, God, he worked the rest of the match. He came back and made a comment about, man, I whacked the shit out of my back on that bump. But that was the extent of it. He just thought he whacked the shit out of his back and that it was going to be a bruise. And that was a part of it. Didn't think it was a real serious injury at that time. And obviously wasn't giving him enough problems that he couldn't do the match. Then a few days later, all hell broke loose.
When the office hears, oh, he's hurt his back, do people start to get very skeptical based on what we talked about earlier? Shawn not really wanting to drop a belt. I'm not saying, and you defended it back then an hour ago, but I'm just asking, were a lot of people sort of going, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, and I think that's why Vince wanted him to come up and see his doctor. Probably to legitimize it and make sure that he was telling us the truth and to try and help him if he was hurt. But I think there were definitely skeptics.
Well, the next night is when things really started to take off. It's the Tyson angle. Meltzer would write, the angle, which started when a heavily booed Vince McMahon brought an even more booed Mike Tyson and his entourage to the ring. Just when McMahon was going to make the announcement of Tyson's role in WrestleMania, Austin showed up. All right. Of course, we know that Austin would challenge Tyson here, and McMahon starts flipping out. Austin winds up flipping Tyson off with both hands. Tyson shoves Austin. There's a major pull apart, and McMahon is yelling, "You ruined it, damn it." And somewhere in here, Tyson calls Austin an F word, and we're done. The hottest angle in the company history, you think, at this point? I mean, obviously you've got your hottest star and he's in the ring and you guys are doing something that looks like a shoot with the most controversial pay-per-view character the world's ever known.
And both guys treated it like a shoot. Everybody out there treated it like a shoot. It was just magic. And it was that lightning in a bottle moment where you went, oh my God, we've got something special here. And we probably could have done everything that we did at WrestleMania off of that one moment alone. But I remember Vince coming back and going, "Oh my God, that was just insane." And we sat down, took our books out, and started booking Mike, and went in, and JR and I went in to thank Tyson and his people. And that was a scary scene because Tyson had $10,000 in his coat pocket. If you go back and watch this, he in his breast pocket had 10 grand, $100 bills, and it all went flying during that melee. So his people, they were all scrambling, picking up $100 bills and counting out the money in the dressing room. And Mike was a little upset at that point.
Well, it's funny that, the next day, this is so well done the night after the Rumble that all the media outlets are reporting it's going to be Austin and Tyson at WrestleMania. I mean, everybody's speculating that that's the plan, and this gets mainstream coverage everywhere. ESPN, Fox Sports, USA Today, the AP, everybody's got it. I mean, when you wake up the next morning and see it's everywhere, everybody's got to be all smiles and high fives, right?
Oh God, we were ecstatic because I think it may have been on the front page of USA Today. I mean, we were everywhere. We were on ESPN. We were on everything. Mike Tyson was news. Steve Austin was red hot, and everybody was picking this thing up.
You know, Mike Tyson here was so funny because when he was at the Royal Rumble and they're interviewing him after Austin wins, Tyson is putting over how much he loves Cold Stoned. And, you know, when quizzed about his favorite wrestlers, he starts naming Bruno Sammartino, who at this point is in like a feud with the company. But the report was that backstage, he could not hang out with the old timers enough. He loved Pat Patterson and Arnold Scotland and Tony Garea and Jerry Briscoe and Sergeant Slaughter and Blackjack and all the guys, right?
Oh my God. And all he wanted to do was meet Gorilla Monsoon. That's where he was. Mike was so damn respectful and so easy to work with. He was a joy to have around.
So Mike got along good with everybody. Was anybody, combative or resistant to Mike being there once he was actually there?
Not at all, man. Everybody wanted to meet him and get pictures with him and everything, but he wanted to meet everybody. He was like a kid in a candy store.
Well, it was a big deal to have Mike Tyson there. And of course we're going to cover WrestleMania 14, for the anniversary coming up in a couple of months. But, all in all, you know, this is a pretty monumental show because you've got sort of the end of an era with LOD. You've got Mick Foley sort of coming out party with all three personas. The Rock's down to the nitty gritty. Stone Cold goes over. Mike Tyson's here, and we've got a back bump that has the whole business talking. Where do you rank Royal Rumble 1998 all time?
Top 5.
I didn't say that. I mean, it's our new gimmick.
Hey, you know what? I mean, it was, really and truly the overall card and the overall presentation was one of the better Royal Rumbles for a total presentation, because having the Tyson thing and just having Mike in those crowd shots made it unique and made it feel pretty damn important.
Let's rapid fire some questions from Facebook. Facebook.com/something to wrestle is where you can ask questions for next week's show, Royal Rumble 1988. Bruce, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What was the idea for the poster with a bunch of nails in Austin's head? It's very confusing.
That was the old, what was it? Pinhead?
Yeah.
The guy, it looked cool. And one of the, creative services folks did that, and it looked cool, and Vince liked it.
Chris wants
no real reason.
Chris wants to know, why wasn't Kane in the Rumble match?
Because we wanted him to be a surprise in the Undertaker Shawn match. There was speculation as to whether or not Kane was going to be a part of DX or side with Undertaker. So you wanted to keep him out.
Where did you get your caskets from?
Caskets are us.
How would Bret Hart have fit in had he stayed?
You know, it could have been Bret Hart in that whole scenario, with Undertaker and then going on to drop the title to Steve at WrestleMania, but we'll never really know.
Was there ever any thought to having Dude Love win the Royal Rumble?
No, there wasn't.
Lots of questions about whether or not you think this injury really kept Shawn out for 4 years, or maybe was that some of his stubbornness from not wanting to come back?
I think it was stubbornness on Shawn's part and stubbornness on Vince's part. I think Shawn had the time and was like, if they're going to pay me, I'm going to sit out. And I think Vince on his part was, if he wants to sit out, he's going to miss out on making a lot of money and being a part of this.
Stuart wants to know, what was your favorite Tom Brandy match?
Remember that one with Sal Sincere? That was probably it.
Andy wants to know, was there ever any talk between Taker and Shawn of calling a different finish because of the injury? I guess the answer is no, if he didn't know how bad he was hurt, right?
No. And he worked that whole match and did everything that he needed to do.
Do you think he didn't notice because of adrenaline, or was he also probably sort of self-medicating at the time already?
No, it was probably adrenaline.
Jared wants to know, why in the hell is one of the Harris twins giving pile drivers in a Royal Rumble?
Oh my God. I saw that and about died. I have no idea that. And it was to Terry Funk. Terry probably called it.